Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. You're so enamored with the roster sheets from Canes games. Like, do you want to make copies of those on your Kyocera?
I need to.
Put them in the cloud so you always have them.
Just have like a whole wall of them.
You could do that.
Serial killer style.
Do what you want with your Kyocera. Contact Copiers Plus today, copiers-plus.com. Although maybe not do that. Maybe not. Drew might not appreciate that part. Just saying. Anyway, Canes
hockey podcaster style. 6-1.
Canes now up 2-0 in this series with the Devils. We did an After Dark. Shout out to everybody who jumped on the After Dark on YouTube. We're going to keep those YouTube only. I know we have some podcast only listeners. So I thought what I'd do today is kind of highlight two parts of yesterday's After Dark with Mike Maniscalco, play-by-play, FanDuel, and Luke DeCock, columnist, News and Observer. I know that you had some lovely stats, right? You have your you got your Martinook stat?
I do.
What's your Martinook stat? I think there's like three key things here to hit on when it comes to the Carolina Hurricanes. There's Martinook versus the Devils, right?
Yeah, so I popped it up on the screen here for our YouTube people. Jordan Martinook has played in 63 career playoff games.
Mm-hmm.
In 56 of them against everyone else, he's got 4 goals, 13 assists, 17 points. About what he is as a player.
Sure.
Right? In the 7 games against New Jersey, he has 4 goals, the same amount as he has in the 56 against the other teams.
Insane.
9 assists and 13 points.
Yeah.
So whatever happens to Jordan Martinook when he sees the New Jersey Devils, the Canes need more of that. That's like retiring, Eric Stahl's jersey. That's whatever red light needs to be turned on. It's turned on for Jordan Martinook when he sees the New Jersey Devils.
Jim Tan Martinook. That's what we have. That's what happens with New Jersey. And then there's what happens when the Canes win at home in a playoff series.
Yeah, well, game 1, when the Canes win under Rod Brind'Amour, they've won 6 of those 7 series. And going back to 2006, they won now. Every time they won game 1, they've won game 2, 10 series in a row, 10 times in a row. When they won game 1, they win game 2. In those series, they're 9-1, with the one loss being the same loss as it is under Rod, the series against the Rangers in 22.
And then there's the second period. This is where if you just want to highlight the game, well, wait for the second period. You're going to be able to tell what direction this game is going based on how the Carolina Hurricanes play in the second period, which has been their period. If you are a for entertainment purposes only sort of guy, Joe, there's another reason why you want to pay close attention to what happens in the second period. Because I know last night you immediately opened up the apps when the Devils went up 1-0, because you're like, all right, second period time. Let's get on that live line, right?
Yeah, the thing about the Canes is they're kind of a slow starting team for whatever reason it is.
And that was the case last night.
And last night was slightly predictable. You had that earlier start time. They played so well on Sunday.
The Devils were going to have something.
The Devils were going to have some jam, a little bit of pep in their step. Sure enough, Devils score in the first 5 minutes of that game. Really were swarming early in that game. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, ooh, but the problem is Vegas is catching up.
They're catching up to it.
So you almost have to pre-flop it. You almost have to get it beforehand.
Fair enough.
Shouts to my guy, Ronnie in Greenville, was like, hey, so I took Canes pre-flop plus 115 second period. He said, thank you.
You're welcome. And that's where things headed. That's where we went with Mike Maniscalco when he came up to our area while we were doing After Dark on YouTube. And that second period, that's the signature for this Canes team. And it's going to be the signature for a potential postseason run, along with that depth scoring.
This team, second periods in this building, they are a monster. I mean, what they're able to do, how they just tilt the ice, and they take advantage of, in the hockey term, the long change, because the forwards have the easier opportunity to get onto the ice and into the zone, and the D have to kind of chase to get into it. But this story for me, the penalty kill again was great. No surprise. Frederik Andersen has gone toe-to-toe with Jacob Markstrom. And even though Markstrom saw more volume in game 1, tonight, Frederik Andersen was the difference for the Carolina Hurricanes when they needed him to be.
Yeah.
And again, the depth scoring for the Carolina Hurricanes, that You get another defenseman scoring a goal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to be a statue holding on to this mic too, Giglio, as you see
Doing
this.
an amazing job, Mike.
But Shane Gostisbehere scoring a goal by following up and, making sure that he buries it. And then not only has the penalty kill been good, but you get the shorthanded goal from Jordan Martinook. This place just goes on fire. They almost had another shorthanded goal on that kill. And I said it on the air, so a cheap plug for those of you who didn't. We talked about all the renovations that are going to be going around Lenovo. They would have had to budget in for a roof because it would have been gone if they scored 2 shorthanded goals. And then, when they needed to lock it up, they found a way to do it.
So that was Maniscalco with us yesterday on the After Dark. You can find the full thing on YouTube if you're so inclined to get that immediate reaction. The reference to holding the mic like a statue, by the way, is because he had the infamous Brinson hot mic. And I was just reminding him, hey man, this mic picks up everything, so just be a little careful. And man, I went back and watched it. The look Maniscalco gave me, I deserved it. No, I deserved it. He's a professional. I deserved it. He knows better. I'm not dealing with amateurs when we're dealing with Mike Maniscalco. Giglio, different story.
Totally different.
Mike, no. I should pay him a little bit more respect for his radio career. But we got on the topic of Freddie Andersen, and it's one of those things where we base our thoughts on what we've seen in the past. And I didn't think it was a crazy idea to throw Kochetkov out there yesterday.
Right.
And then go back to Freddie in game 3.
Yeah.
But if Freddie Andersen is going to play the way that he played in game 1 and in game 2, as Maniscalco referenced, and he's healthy, well, then let's see how this goes. And that was the main crux of the part of the conversation with DeCock on the After Dark. And I think he put it succinctly in that we might have to reassess how we view Andersen, despite the fact of all the evidence we've built up over the last couple of years with Freddie Andersen, injury history, and performance in the playoffs.
Here's the thing about Freddie that I think people are missing. Number one, everyone keeps talking about consecutive starts. It's actually his 3rd straight start. He played the 82nd game in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Now, there's a little gap in there, but not a huge gap.
Sure.
So that's one. 2 is the word on Freddie was that this latest knee surgery took care, finally, of the chronic issue that was causing the real durability issues in the playoffs going back to 2022. So the theory is you should be able to, and also he's played 21 games all year?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's never been this fresh in April. Mm-hmm. So I don't see the Freddie durability issue that we've seen the last couple of years. To me, I'm not seeing it. I think now maybe you do want to get Kochetkov in there, especially if you maybe you lose game 3, you throw him in for game 4 on the short turnaround, or maybe you do put him in to close out the series in game 4 if you win game 3. But I don't think it's this ticking time bomb Freddie situation that we've been dealing with the last couple of years. I think this is a fresher, rested, potentially more durable Frederik Andersen. And to be honest, I don't remember him looking this good in back-to-back playoff games in his entire tenure. Now, he's obviously played great games in the playoffs. These were 2 very good games, especially in the 3rd period of both games, when you would expect him to maybe start wearing down. So I'm not prepared to start pushing the Frederik Andersen, I'm not going to call the panic button, the Frederik Andersen narrative button yet. I'm willing to kind of let this play out and see where it goes, because I think we may be dealing with a different breed of cat here.
Again, that was Luke DeCock last night on the After Dark. By all means, go check out the full episode on YouTube. So I think we've kind of coalesced around that idea. If this is how Freddie's going to be, he's fresh. He hasn't played a lot this year, and his knee is fully at 100% based on this last surgery. Then, yeah, man, I'm willing to reassess how I would go about this thing. And it's not like Kochetkov has given you reason to go, man, you got to go to him. In previous years, you thought that. Maybe not this year. Not saying that Kochetkov hasn't had a decent year. He's had a fine season, but not the level where you got to, I got to play him. But we also know in the history of Carolina Hurricanes postseason success, you've needed 2. So at some point, you're going to need Kochetkov. And the way I think we would play this out, given the day off, you play Freddie on Friday night, and then you have that quick turnaround on Sunday, 3 o'clock, you put Kochetkov in there, which could be a potential game series ending situation.
Yeah, I mean, just to flesh out the Freddie point.
Mm-hmm.
So his first year here in 22, he played 52 games,
mm-hmm.
right? I believe in those playoffs in 22 when they lost that 7-game series to the Rangers. I do believe he was the difference in that series.
Mm-hmm.
He was the reason they lost ultimately in that series.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 23, they go to the conference finals. They play Florida. Sergei Bobrovsky was like nuclear hot, like
sure,
beyond anything.
Sure.
But the way Freddie played in that series, it was a sweep. I know that. But the way he played in that series, he was good enough in 23. The way that he played, he was good enough for them to win the Stanley Cup. Okay. 23, he only played in 34 games. That's where you see a little bit more of the Kochetkov starting to rise.
Right.
Last year, he only played in 16 games. Okay. And he gets to the playoffs in the first round. There, 16 games, so which means he didn't make any consecutive starts. Gets to the playoffs. They play the Islanders in the first round, and he looked like the goalie from the conference finals against the Panthers. He was that sharp. He was that good. And I think Rod looked at that and said, and then now Rod will tell you, he's not always the one who makes the call on the goalie either.
That's fair.
They have a goaltending coach. Let me give the guy a little bit of love, a little bit of credit, because I never get him right. Paul Schoenfelder. Paul is the one who really kind of, goes to Rod and says, all right, this is what I think. And then
Rod makes the decision.
You know what I mean? So I think Rod bristles a little bit at the goalie stuff in general. Because he's kind of like, I'm not even really the one who makes that call.
It's a brain trust thing. And that's the thing we have to remind ourselves all the time. There's, it's not just Dundon. It's also Tulski. It's Rod. I mean, it's a whole brain trust thing.
Here's where I think we're maybe getting this quote unquote wrong. Okay. And it's not wrong. It's not the right word.
It's not the right way to say it.
I think you and Luke and I disagree on how it played out last year.
Yes.
Okay. Because he had only played in 16 games last year because of the blood clotting. He gets to the playoffs. He looked so good against the Islanders that they did not play Kochetkov in that first round. And so it becomes, now you get to the Rangers, and the Rangers again. I didn't think Freddie was great by any stretch of the imagination, but I did not think it was a 22 situation where it was like Freddie's fault. Okay. Either way, the season ends the same way. And Rod did not go to Kochetkov. And it became, well, why didn't you go to Kochetkov in the second round against the Rangers last year? This year, I just want to make it clear, if he's going to play the way that he is, I believe, just as I did last year, you play him.
Yeah.
I also do think Kochetkov has not been at a level that he was not only last year, but
that's the thing.
However, I do think the Devils with their injuries are an inferior team. So if you think at some point you are going to need Cooch, I do think you play him in one of these two games this weekend. Because I do think you're good enough to beat the Devils with Kochetkov in net. So ultimately, that's what it becomes. You don't want to put Kochetkov in this situation where you were in last year, where you're like, gosh, I really need to jumpstart the team. Gosh, what could I really do? Then all of a sudden you're trying to pull a rabbit from your hat, and Kochetkov hasn't played in a month. So I think that's the situation that I think the Canes will learn from. Schoenfeld will learn from. I have full confidence in the Canes that they will do that. I fully expect to see Kochetkov play in one of the two games at the Rock this weekend.
Yeah. And if they don't, I'd be shocked. And I would criticize at that point, because again, I'll get back to what I said. The history of the Canes, if we're looking focused on the Canes, you're going to need two. You're going to need tandems. Work the tandems. And again, I'm not trying to act as though Kochetkov was trash all year. I'm just simply saying he did not look like a guy who was ready to take over the way we've been positioning him. That doesn't mean he can't win you a game, because it's funny. It goes, not to go all youth hockey on it, but it's like you could see this at the youth level too. You got the one kid who's like rock solid, like the ceiling isn't as high, but the floor isn't as low, just very steady, right? And then you got the one, and that's Freddie. That's Freddie.
Yeah.
And you got the kid who's got the high ceiling, but then he's got that low floor. And when he doesn't have it that day, he just doesn't have it that day, right? And that's his goaltending. That's why I always call it voodoo. You just don't know what you're going to get in a particular case. That's the dynamic. Because when Kochetkov's at that high, he's going to win you a game. We've seen it. But again, Freddie's been so solid that, man, if he is fully healthy, then I like the Canes' chances even more. But I will say this, I think you hit on it with the current state of the Devils. It is easy to get wrapped up in what we're seeing, because the next opponent is not going to be as decimated, at least as of now, not as decimated as we're seeing right now with the New Jersey Devils. We just took a hockey break.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hale.
Big thanks to Happy and Hale. The pop-up location is still going strong over at Smoky Hollow. With the weather the way it's a little warmer out, you want to spend a little time outside. Hopefully this pollen stuff's going away. Drop on by Smoky Hollow. They got the bowls prepared, ready to go. In, out, $10. Can't beat that deal.
I was going to say they're $10, and it's also like very filling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is a great deal. So get yourself a great lunch deal a nice healthy lunch, chill out. You want to bring your pickleball paddles over there? You want to bring your pooch over there?
Do it.
All the other peas, I'll pop them all. Get it done.
That's why I tell you to turn the mic sideways so that the peas don't pop.
Working on it.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good on that one. And you'll be good when you use the OG25 promo code at Happy and Hail. So check them out. Download the app. Use that promo code for a one-time 25% off. Take a screen grab of it. Send it to us. And then you will be in the running for the black card.
Also on the raffle list. I keep forgetting to add it to raffle.
Duke forever? No. 20% off forever.
It is the Caleb Love special.
You know, we have two Joes, one cup. I feel like we need to come up with some music for today and Bill Belichick.
No, I told you this. Yeah.
Bill had a day yesterday.
He did.
Full day yesterday.
He did.
It ended at the Carolina Hurricanes game. He showed up at some point in the second period or in between periods. I don't think he was there in the first period. He got there late the first period. He shows up, the Canes scored. That's all I know. And he's there with Jordon Hudson. He's in the governor's box. He is enjoying his Two Roosters ice cream. We got called out by Doug Wharf, president of the Carolina Hurricanes. How do you miss your chance to plug Two Roosters? Because, I had put out the video of him getting booed by fans yesterday when they put him on the Jumbotron. Like, no, we spotted that Two Roosters. We even texted, I think you texted Jared, like, I can spot that spoon from anywhere.
He told us, he's like, I know what's going on.
I know what's happening here. So,
I only wish they had the chocolate chip carrot cake at the arena, but you can go get some today and meet the genius behind it over in Cary at Waverly Place.
Yeah, so there's Bill. He's got his Two Roosters. You can see the cup. It's fantastic. I love that. And that's when he's getting booed.
And he's enjoying that.
He's clearly enjoying that. Why wouldn't you enjoy that? I did think the comments were pretty funny because last night, as we pointed out, it's a predominantly state building. So you're going to get some boos from state fans. But it's also a transplant-heavy area now with a lot of football fans from other markets. We referenced the Steelers. We referenced the Bills. You also have on Instagram somebody correctly pointing out, like, hey, man, don't forget the Panthers lost the Super Bowl to that dude. It was 90% against them in terms of the boos. Somebody had also pointed out in the YouTube comment section, it was so annoying. They were holding up fans to get back to their seats. 0 people cared that he was there. We're there for our Canes. Also, the Jumbotron operators knew what they were doing when they displayed him. Shady. Like I said, it all adds to, he's going to get booed.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So, like, they're going to put him up there. Cool.
I said welcome.
Yeah, welcome Bill Belichick. But you knew he was going to get booed. He knew he was going to get booed.
I'll be honest. Like, there are enough other schools in the area that I thought the guy still has won 6 Super Bowls, right? Like, there can be some respect there because he hasn't coached a game yet at Carolina. So
it has nothing to do with, again, I get back to what I said. It has nothing to do with Carolina. It has everything to do with the fact that there's a lot of people in that building that are football fans of teams that he has beat. I missed that. The only ones who would have cheered to go, hey, Bill, would have been Giants fans. That's it. Like somewhere our guy E Weezy, he was just like, hey, Bill, hey, welcome, Bill. Hey, remember those 2 Super Bowls? Remember those? Yeah, man, those are great. I love those. Those are fantastic. The only, other than a Carolina fan, the only person would be like, hey, Bill, would be a New York Giants fan. That's it. That is it. But earlier in the day, Joe, today in Bill Belichick, we found out. Well, we technically found out because Bubba Cunningham, the AD at Carolina, tweeted out too soon that they were going to Ireland. But in 2026, it's going to be TCU versus the Tar Heels. And y'all, Belichick was fired up about going to Ireland in 2026 to open up the season against TCU.
I'll make you guys aware of an announcement that we're going to make at 10 o'clock, and that's that we're going to be opening the 2026 season in Ireland against TCU. All right, so we're going to...
Can you feel it?
I love
Can you feel it?
I love the people who try to compare Bill Belichick to Deion Sanders. Like, just tell me you don't know the difference. Just tell me. It's fine.
I have to play this again.
10 o'clock, and that's that we're going to be opening the 2026 season in Ireland against TCU.
Let's point out a little progress though, since we are very critical of Bill. A little progress here.
Yeah.
It's a nice quarter zip, a sawed-off quarter zip. It's got the Carolina logo on it, so we're making progress.
Making progress on
we
that.
got the right school.
Okay.
And the Jordan brand, because remember,
that's true.
Jordan brand is technically different from Nike. So,
well, the man is going to wear Jordan brand one way or the other.
There's a lot of Jordans.
A lot of Jordan around. Shout out to the UNC football social media people because they had it all queued up. We're going to hit you with that traditional Irish music right after he says we're going to Ireland. Like, let's go. And you can only work with the footage you got. So
right.
They tried, man. They're trying with this. So they continue.
The Lord Mayor.
So to your point,
it was so ham-fisted. Like it was just like, and there nothing excites a group of predominantly young black men like a trip to Ireland, by the way. Like they're kind of looking around like, huh?
I mean, it's a trip. Get to go overseas, man. Some of them can drink. Get some.
That's true.
Get some Guinness straight from the source. Like I don't see what the problem is. I'm sure some of those guys golf, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does Bill golf?
I have no idea.
I have no clue. So to your point, it's just like Deion Sanders, right?
Just like him.
All right. So let's juxtapose Bill Belichick. Hey guys, we're going to Ireland. We're on to Dublin. To Deion Sanders, who accuses Virginia
of all schools.
Virginia.
Like, who's beefing with Virginia? Their longtime rival of the oldest rivalry in the South? Or Deion?
Apparently Deion Sanders is the one who wants to beef with Virginia.
Virginia, you got to stop. I let you have one. I ain't say nothing about it. Come on now. Come on. We let you have one. I ain't say nothing about it. It's another brother.
The best part is the congregation in the background.
Tell them about it. Tell them.
Preach.
We let you. Tell them.
Yeah, they're the same.
Same guy.
Same. Was it Arrested Development? The character, same.
No, it's The Office. Corporate wants you to see these, tell the difference between these two products. The same to me. It's Deion and Belichick for sure. For sure. Can't get enough content.
Housekeeping.
Big thanks to Inovana. Check them out online at inovana.com. Green cleaning solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Inovana.
So we got the OG birthday bash a week from tomorrow, Thursday, May 1st.
Is it already next week?
It's already next week. Time's fly, man. 2025 is going. 2025 feels simultaneously 100 years old already, and also like it just started. I mean, or it just, is just quickly going by. But anyway, we got the OG birthday bash, Shady's and Garner. Thanks to our friends at Whitaker and Hamer for the space. WH.lawyer. Check them out. Attorneys and counselors at law. Joe, do we have one?
We have a food truck.
Yes.
Thanks to our friends at Empire Eats. I'm looking forward to this. It is actually a birthday gift for my dad, who turns 82 today.
Mm-hmm.
He's a huge fan of Jake, formerly of Capital Club 16, now working for Empire Eats. So Jake will be there next Thursday night. It'll be a mix of the Empire traditional fare and also the schnitzel sandwich from the trademark from the Wandering Wolf. So
I'm excited about that.
It's going to be big time. And happy birthday, Pops. 82.
Oh, man.
Doesn't look a day older than
78.
I'd give him 68. Pass for 68. My dad looks younger than Bill Belichick. Are you kidding?
Here's the thing about your dad. He is older than my dad, but a hell of a lot more energetic.
Well, yeah, there's a lot there.
There's a lot of Big Lou energy.
Yes.
My dad, he's slowing down a little bit here. So, yes, we got a food truck. We also have your first opportunity to try OG Light.
I keep forgetting that we have a lot of stars to this particular show.
Podcast flavored beer. I don't know what a podcast would taste like. You know what a podcast would taste like? A dusty studio and beer flavored beer.
But not those gray soundproofing walls that we saw.
No.
In our interview.
No, not that. No, so we've got
I can see your face when you saw that. You were like, oh, yeah. spent a lot of time in there.
Oh yeah, those are real soundproof walls. No, so we've got OG Light. We're gonna tap that keg at Shady's for the birthday bash. Eventually, it'll show up in cans.
But you've had it already.
I've
This
had it
isn't
already.
Just us uncorking.
No,
a
I've had it.
potentially terrible. You remember
I taste tested it, and I wanted to make sure that this was the most like crap on tap, like the thing that the service industry people get the free one.
right.
You know, because if you've worked in the service industry, you know that typically there's a tap in the bar that's for you. And it's usually the cheapest beer, and it hits different. So yes, OG Light is going to be the most beer flavored beer you've ever had.
So my cousin Bill up
Yeah.
in New Jersey was on the original wave of making your own beer.
Sure.
This is back in like
Home
90,
brewer back in the day.
this is like 91, 92.
sounds about right.
you know, and he was actually very, very good at it. But then there were other people who were like, you know what, I can make my own beer. And it's like, it's kind of like never really trusting anybody who makes their own beer because they're always like, oh man, this stuff is so good. And you're like, this tastes like a shoe.
Yeah.
What did you do?
I had a neighbor.
Shoe water.
I had a neighbor who was brewing his own IPAs in the
I
crawl
could just-
space. And he was even growing his own hops on the side of the house. And it was like I was plucking hops out of my teeth. It was disgusting. This is not that beer.
That's why I'm making sure that
This
you've
is-
tested.
No, this is this is not me with a beer meister in the
Okay.
back, a homebrew kit in the shed.
Kit with
That's
the
not-
bucket.
That is not what this is. This is a very good brewer. Okay. Actually, I would argue one of the best brewers in the Triangle.
Shouts to my neighbor Daniel because he makes his own beer.
Yeah.
It's actually really, really
It's
good.
Okay.
And one time, like me and my dad are sitting there, and Daniel's like, I made my own beer. And me and my dad
It's like,
were like,
no.
no. But
Oh,
then we
no.
were both simultaneous, like, this is really good, Daniel. How'd you do that? He was like looking at it. And I was like, what do you mean? Like,
If we wanted to do a summertime OG sports phone prompt, by all means, tell us the time your buddy homebrewer gave you a beer and you're like, this is disgusting, and you had to be like the nicest. But that's not what this is.
not this.
Not this. OG Light.
Only the finest.
Only the finest
champagne
hops.
of podcasts.
Yes, exactly. So all that's going down next week. Shady's out in Garner. Big thanks to our friends at Breeze Through. As we've been mentioning throughout the postseason, by all means, drop by the Breeze Through by Lenovo Center to get all your tailgate needs. You got time to plan for next week. Hopefully there'll be decent game times. Not 6 o'clock.
We've avoided our Canes being in the playoffs on 5-1, but there'll be other games going on. Don't forget about the raffle either, Joe.
Yep.
Venmo is Giglio Joe. A lot of people have already put in for, so far I can tell you that the Caleb Love photo is so far the most popular item in the raffle. And if you're unfamiliar, it'll be a board like this from our friends at Color Graphic. And it is the shot of Caleb Love
Now, is that
over
for-
the outstretched arm of Mark Williams.
Is that for a Carolina fan to have in their office, or is that for a Carolina fan to give to a Duke fan in their life? I don't know. It's up to you.
I think, well,
up to
number
you.
one, Paul has been interested in it. And, Paul's a Carolina fan. So
Yeah.
I think he would like to have one of his own. But, if he does interact with any Duke fans, he would
He's
very
just gonna
much
point to it.
send that one over to them. So
he's just going to
I
point to
really just want to emphasize that our raffle we do have a great bourbon selection, 2 different Blantons, thanks to Chris and our guy John now out in Greenville. Great bourbon selection, okay? But there's a lot of other items in this raffle this time for our birthday that a lot of people are interested in, including the accomplished greatness. Welcome, Matt. Who our friend Aaron Beard last night was like, you're not giving away your welcome mat, are you? And
We
I'm
have
like,
an extra.
no.
It's an extra one.
We have a special extra one that's clean because ours is not.
Oh God, no.
So
We're disgusting.
we have a clean one
Yes.
for you to bid on in the raffle.
So again, go Venmo Joe and get in on the raffle. And again, the birthday is next week. Also, big thanks to Roback. Check them out. I cannot wait to see all of our listeners showing up in their fine Roback. It's going to be a fine occasion.
You got to show it.
All right,
It's a terrible picture. But you gotta do it.
Roback.com. Use the promo code OG20. Joe didn't believe me. I was so enamored with the City of Oaks polo.
As you should be.
So
It's amazing.
I'm like, I gotta wear this. This is too good. It's got little hockey players on it. Like, I gotta wear this. I gotta wear this to the game.
Arena, Ferris wheel, the belt line.
So you're like, well, I gotta send this to Ben. I mean, I gotta show proof of life for Ben. And I think you took the worst photo of all time of me. The worst photo of all time.
I just love your look. It's the same look as Maniscalco gave you
with the mic.
With the mic,
Yeah,
it was
it's
like,
what are we doing?
Really?
Also, I have
Really?
a question because again, I'm not. You know me. I'm not a polo guy,
Right.
For the most part. I do love my Roback hoodies. The shorts are comfortable and fantastic. Polos and me, we have a very tortured relationship. So I thought, you know what? Let me dress this bad boy up and put the blazer over it because I want to stay a little warm too in the arena.
It does get cold.
It gets cold in there. So I threw my Uniqlo blazer on it, getting a little small on me, but that's another story altogether.
That's Uniqlo though.
That's unique. Yeah, it always
they run
small.
small.
But the reason why I like my Uniqlo blazers is because they fit my T-Rex arms.
Oh,
I don't have to tailor them. They just they come pre-made for T-Rex arms.
Okay.
So anyway, I was like, can you wear a polo with a blazer? And the reason why I thought this works is because unlike other polos, the collars on these bad boys, they stay straight, which works with the blazer. So this is acceptable?
More than acceptable. That's the definition of business casual these days because people don't really wear ties anymore.
No, they don't.
Think about it. If you're going to wear a dress shirt, the one thing that when you wear it under a jacket, you don't know if it's short sleeve or long sleeve. In this particular case, the collars are so good, but also the comfort, Joe.
Oh,
the comfort.
Incredibly comfortable. I might get another one. I'm out of City of Oaks. Now I'm going to have to find some other hockey-related polo or something North Carolina-related. It might be time for me to get the little state of North Carolina outline one.
I was going to say, the gift I gave myself was the Garden State.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know. So go to rowback.com, use that promo code OG20. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, LockedOn Panthers podcast. He talks about the Panthers every single day. He is Julian Council. Julian, what's up, man?
Not much. Draft season is almost over. Thank God. It's been a long time, arduous process as it is every year, but finally get the answers to the questions that we've been asking ourselves for the last month and a half.
I mean, I know you're deep into the draft, the mock drafts, the scouting reports and everything else, but have you taken some time? Have you taken some time to catch some Carolina Hurricanes fever?
No.
Bill Belichick was in the building last night. Even he has the fever.
I don't have Belichick fever. I want to be as far away from anything he's touching right now.
Well, except for Two Roosters. He was enjoying his Two Roosters ice cream yesterday. So shout out.
Okay, well, there you go. I'll take some Two Roosters.
Come on. I thought Charlotte's. I was just on with Kyle Bailey at WFNZ. How do you not have Canes fever right now?
Because the draft is going on, and that's been my focus. And also, our hockey team's playoffs don't start until next month when the Checkers get out there and go search for their second Calder Cup. Remember the Checkers who Tom Dundon abandoned?
We don't talk about them anymore. Who are they?
Yeah.
Who? We're a wolf. This is Wolves country.
The real hockey team here in Charlotte. That's who they are. So that's where my hockey fandom and allegiance will always be.
So we talked to Mike Kay, the Charlotte Observer, yesterday, and he went into an interesting kind of side tangent about Jalen Walker and his fit. I don't know if you caught that.
He did it on my show too.
He did. Okay, so he's kind of perplexed by the whole Jalen Walker thing, and even some people in the YouTube comments are like, "Whoa." So, what's smoke? What's real? Are the Panthers locked on, I should say, Jalen Walker with the 8th pick in the draft?
I still think it depends on what's going to happen really starting at 3, because we know Cam Ward is going to Tennessee. Unfortunate for him. We know that Travis Hunter is going number 2 to Cleveland, which I think will actually work out for him. And in that 3, I suppose where the intrigue is, I don't see why the Giants would be taking a quarterback in a win or get the hell out of town season for Joe Shane and Brian Dable. So probably Abdul Carter, who is arguably the best player in this draft class. Then you get the 4, New England, probably taking Will Campbell, but then Jacksonville, there's some talk that they may not go with the defensive prospect like a Mason Graham. So it kind of depends on what happens in between those 5 through 7 picks. And if there is anyone thirsty enough to get up there into the top 10, because I saw Peter Schrager's report on Tuesday that the Browns and the Giants were both looking to get out of those positions. I know Carolina wants to get out of the 8th overall pick. So if they're stuck there and Jalen Walker is on the board, I think it's a possibility that he comes to them because of the versatility and the fact that he was one of the best defensive players in college last year and that he has a need at outside linebacker, which Dan Morgan said last week. That's how they view him. But there's certainly got to be other guys that if they're on the board as well, that they would be interested in that could also fit a role here in Carolina.
Hearing you rattle off those names, Julian, reminded me that I was a Heisman voter this year, and there were a lot of lousy skill players in college football this year. You know what I mean? Alabama, their best player was a freshman. Ohio State, their best skill player was a freshman. Georgia noticeably had no skill players hence why their season ended when it did. People have strained themselves to think this Texas receiver is something. Newsflash, he's not. Okay. So, the playmakers this year were Travis Hunter on a Colorado team that ultimately didn't play a single meaningful game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just being honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
They played that Kansas game at the end of the season when they still had a position to make it to the Big 12 and blew it.
Sure.
And
Right.
blew it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you just hit on the key phrase there.
Right.
So, but it was meaningful.
Okay, fair enough.
But so we had this dearth of skill players.
Yeah.
In the big spotlights. You mentioned one of them because we can go to the other side of the ball and difference makers, where I really do think the Panthers have the biggest need.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking at these stats. You're going to laugh at me. I'm just saying this so that you can laugh at me, Julian. You could have offered me $9 million to name the person. You could have said, I'll give you $9 million to tell me who was second on the Panthers in tackles. And I would have guessed, I would have flailed around. I would have guessed something, right? And then you could have actually told me the person's real name. And I would have been like, that's not a real person. That's not a person that's in the NFL.
It was Trevin Wallace, right?
It was Josie Jewell.
Josie Jewell. Okay.
That's a real person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Josie Jewell of the University.
Outing myself here, but I'm just like, who? What?
I mean, when you talk about the Panthers 5 days a week, you're going to hear Josie.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I know this,
but
on my drive to Enloe.
Yeah, Wallace came on because he didn't play the whole year. He was, productive, obviously. But you look at the Panthers and you're like, okay, I know the number one playmaker who wasn't on their defense last year was Frankie Louvu. Yeah. Like that's what I do know about their defense, and that's about all I know about their defense. And the Derek Brown's injured. And JC Horn can be on the field. You've mentioned this before.
Yeah.
And that Mike Jackson had a nice season. Then they picked him up, and that was a nice move. But, I look at the Panthers, and it's like, okay, well, then who are some of these playmakers on the defensive side? James Pierce was a guy kind of advanced yesterday who's got a little bit more of that prototypical size that you'd like to see. But does he fit what the Panthers and the genius David Tepper are trying to do with their defense? He's the one calling the shots on their 3-4 Blitzburg scheme.
Well, I know there's been every year we hear about guys and like character issues, and yet we never hear what those character issues are. And when doing some digging with James Pierce, who's from Charlotte, by the way, he's a guy who does not need to be in Charlotte, from what I've been told. So I'm hopeful that Carolina is aware of that. So I do not think that's someone that they're likely targeting as an edge rusher. Like I would think Donovan Ezeraku would be somebody that they really liked, especially if they traded back. For the life of me, I mean, we're all ACC guys. I don't really understand how that guy is not considered a top 10 pick, other than the fact that he played at Boston College. But then that doesn't really matter, because if you can play, the NFL has shown that we don't really give a crap. We'll take you wherever you're at. Like, hell, we're talking about a quarterback from Colorado going potentially in the top 10. Like, when's the last time they put out any decent quarterback not named Cordell Stewart? Like, it's been a long time.
To be fair, with the Shedeur Sanders thing, I mean, the variance on Shedeur Sanders at this point in time is he could be a first-round pick, he could be a third-round pick, and of course, it is anonymous scouts talking about black quarterback season, so we are getting the Shedeur Sanders is entitled conversation. And of course, that also plays in with the fact that Deion Sanders is his dad. And what did I see on Get Up this morning? They were having a conversation about Deion and, if you're a coach and he's only been coached by his dad, how is that going to play? I'm like, wow, we are just going galaxy brain.
Oh, yeah. I think someone's saying, like, usually when you're like a quarterback, you get away from like your parents when you go to college, but this hasn't happened. It's not going to happen for him until he gets to the NFL.
Yeah.
I do like kind of buy into, if he wasn't a Sanders, we wouldn't really be having this many conversations about him. No. I look at all these quarterbacks, honestly, as like second round picks. Like Cam Ward was a 7th quarterback going off the board last year had he stayed in. I do think that he certainly improved in certain aspects. Still a ton of whoopsie daisies. If you watch him at Washington State, he had a lot of opportunities where he would just throw the ball away. Didn't have as many turnovers as far as fumbles last year. Like, I do think he's like worthy of being selected in the first round. I don't think he's a number 1 overall pick, and it'd probably be in his best interest to not go to Tennessee, but that's going to happen.
I'm sorry. I'm completely dismissing Cam Ward outright, because you can't sit here and you're trying to make this a thing because the way the NFL is structured these days, where you can take flyers on quarterbacks, it's all economics. Because Cam Ward in any other draft, if we're looking at it objectively, giveth and taketh, and his variance is way too wide. I mean, he kept Miami out of games, and then he single-handedly brought Miami back into games. That's cool. That's like a feature, not a bug in college. Okay, you can't do that in the NFL, and I find that kind of interesting. But this gets to a larger point. Getting back to the Panthers, in it kind of now that it's draft week. And fans are always looking ahead, and I'm trying to play 4D chess, and there's quarterbacks 3-4 years down the line. Position yourself for all that kind of stuff. The Panthers were talking about this too. If the whole Bryce Young thing didn't work out, and as we kind of come into focus for this draft, it is absolutely crucial the way that he developed last year, so that you don't find yourself in a draft that isn't all that robust with the quarterback market, thinking you got to just take a flyer on a guy. Because, I mean, I can envision the Panthers being right back in the situation, forcing themselves into taking Shedeur Sanders and just repeating that cycle. Instead, we saw optimism and growth out of Bryce Young. Now you can focus your draft needs, what Giglio was talking about in terms of defense, and then later in the draft, see if you can find some pieces to put around Bryce Young.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a great point, because had Bryce kind of just fallen apart there and they not been able to revive him late last season, they would have been back in another bad quarterback draft like they were a couple of years ago in 2022 when they took Matt Corral. And Matt Corral, where's he at? I think he's like a backup quarterback in the UFL. The dude can't play. So it's great.
Or you're biting the bullet and you're taking a free agent quarterback that ain't all that great, like Russell Wilson in a Panthers uniform. I can see it.
It would have served
Panther legend.
Would have served no one. But yeah, I mean, when I look at as far as needs in this draft, they spend a lot of time or a lot of money on the free agents on defense. I don't see really, other than edge rusher, a spot in safety, a spot where a guy's going to come in and start immediately. They take a defensive tackle. They're not coming in and starting over Bobby Brown III and Nashawn Robinson, of course, Derek Brown. They're not going to start over those guys. Linebacker, they're pretty set there with Trevin Wallace, Josie Jewell, as you mentioned. They brought in Christian Roseboom from the Rams, who knows this scheme after working with Jero Vero, the Panthers DC, back in his time in LA. You got corner, you got JC, you already got Mike Jackson. They probably need another outside corner, but there's two guys in Shamar Bartholomew and Caleb Evans who they really do like and want to see them develop. So even if they bring somebody in, is that guy going to get that many reps at all? Safeties where they only have three, and they have Damani Richardson, who's a UDFA from a year ago, who had to start at the end of the season, who they do think can be a nice player for them, but they need to find more of a third guy to go in with Trevon Merrick, who they brought in from Las Vegas. So I would think day two, probably looking at a safety. Who that's going to be, I don't know, but I would imagine that's a position that they want to attack. I wouldn't be shocked they took an offensive tackle. Looking at the situation with Taylor Moton, they decided to not open up that cap hit, which is $31.3 million, by extending him or restructuring it. So they're going to let him sit on that, and he's a free agent after the season. So do they decide to bring in a tackle, redshirt him for this year, and then take over Taylor in 2026 and beyond? So that's something to look at as well. And I do think they need a receiver. I agree with you, Giglio. I don't think this is the great receiver class. As you mentioned, all the great receivers in college last year were freshmen. Jeremiah Smith, we got 2 more years to wait. Ryan Williams, 2 more years to wait. Cam Coleman at Auburn got 2 more years to wait until those guys might have the greatest receiver class of all time. I'm sure that will be the hyperbole said in 2 years. But I mean, hell, you look what they did as freshmen. It might be the case in a couple of years. I don't know. I thought Golden was good. I think more of that was an opportunity because Isaiah Bond, who got himself in some trouble recently, got hurt and never lived up to the Lamborghini deal that Texas gave him last year. So maybe they can find a slot guy. I know the kid from Iowa State, I think Jalen Knoll is someone that I've heard a lot of people like across the league, and he could be someone there, maybe sitting there at 57 on day 2, who Carolina potentially can take as a replacement for Adam Thielen. But they believe in Xavier Legette as their number 1. Jalen Coker probably don't need to put that in Sharpie as their number 3 receiver moving forward, but he's a guy who had a nice season last year. So I think that's more depth needs that they have in this draft than overall guys coming in to start right away, just based off of the amount of money they spend, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and the fact that the quarterback's back, the running backs are back, or the running back's back, and they brought in Rico Dowdle, all the receivers are back, and they brought back the entire offensive line. So you're kind of building depth and towards the future at this point in time.
I would really love to radio bit this up, but I don't have it in me. Josie Jewell, if I told you that he was a white linebacker, I'm going to give you one guess as to where he went to college.
He went to Iowa.
Not you, Ovies.
Oh, my bad.
I was gonna.
But I did say it earlier though, so if he was paying attention. He was here.
Yeah, no. If it's not Iowa, it would be like Wisconsin or
I'm
something.
looking
Or
at this guy's
Nebraska.
picks. Apparently, he played for him in Denver. He came over this year.
Okay.
He had a longer career in Denver. I'm like, I'm not hallucinating.
You don't remember Josie Jewell from last year?
Single.
Okay.
I just thought you would have known who he was. Period. Because like he was like I think he was like an All-American at Iowa. And then he's been a good player, like with the Broncos. I don't know how much Broncos you're playing, but like maybe like
no.
But maybe just like you're turning on TV. It's like, oh yeah, I heard about Josie Jewell. Heard he's pretty good.
Yeah.
Josie and the Pussycats. I mean, you could have just taken all of my money. And he was born on Christmas. I love it. My new favorite player.
There we go.
Oh man. Anyway, all right. So let's wrap up this draft combo here. And what is? We got to do grades. We even have pre-draft grades.
Oh, God.
Pre-draft grades.
That is a thing. There's a pre-draft grade based on the mock drafts that are out there.
Oh,
yes. Projecting what your grade will be based on all these mock draft matrices and whatnot. I'm not making this up.
I know you're not making it up.
All right. Because I'm chronically online and I find these things because I'm a sicko.
Talk about fan fiction.
It's true fan fiction. That being said, I don't want a pre-draft grade from you, Julian, but what would you like to see the the overall plan? What would make you happy when the whole draft is wrapped up?
What would make me happy is that they get no controversial players who fans are going to be super mad about. That would make me happy, so we can stray away from that. Honestly, I think what they really need to focus on is getting a true edge rusher. Like, at 8, if they can do that in the first round. Like Jadeveon Clowney, he's still in the league. He's had a good career, but like he never lived up to the hype. You look at a guy like Patrick Jones they just brought over. I text my buddy who covers the Vikings. Like, what do you think about him? He texts me JAG, just a guy. So he's not going to help you this season. DJ Wonnum. Okay, if he stayed healthy, maybe he got close to the 8 sack total he had in his final year in Minnesota. But like, again, there's no OCs or players out there that are concerned about DJ Wonnum. Like, he can be a speed guy, can be a power guy. You got to be able to have both. So that's what they need to be trying to find. I think like that would make me happy as far as just like the construction of the roster. I think adding another piece there in the secondary is important, both at corner and secondary, or corner and safety rather, and then getting a receiver. Because I'm not.
No, if you have Panther brain or not here, Julian.
Yeah,
but looking at their numbers, I'm like, buddy, they need some help here. Come on.
Yeah. I think the jury's still. I think the jury is still out, though. I get your point on the wide receiver thing, but the jury is still out on the Canales-Bryce Young marriage finally finding its level. Like they come into an agreement about what this is going to be.
Yeah.
And since we didn't really have a full range of what he's capable of with the wide receivers that he's with, I don't think we have a general idea of how good Xavier Legette could be, right?
Yeah, and you also should not stop building around the quarterback. I know there's been like such a focus like defensively, and they have not, because Dan Morgan said he's not going to neglect the offense, and well, he hasn't. He brought back the entirety of the offensive line, and continuity is such a key piece to that unit. And we've seen in past years where like when they've been banged up and not had depth, they've been a complete disaster. They got banged up a little bit last year, but they had depth, and everybody comes back. So that's a part of it. Bringing in Dowd is a part of it. But I just think like they need speed and true playmakers that can like stress a defense, and that in turn helps the quarterback. Like I think the run game has a chance to be good this year, but like vertically, do they have a downfield passing game? I don't know.
No,
so, like from what I've seen so far, probably not. So I still think that's something that's important, and like would rather not get to like October and people being like, man, why can't the Panthers eat the deep ball? Well, probably because they don't have a deep ball guy.
But I guess the thing would be, is there one? Like getting back to the start of this conversation,
and you find one
with the wide receiver group. But at the same time, we can sit here and just kind of shrug our shoulders at the wide receiver group. But wide receivers have become the new running backs. For over a decade, it was, why would you even draft a running back? Because it's a next man up thing. It's all good. He gets too much money. Well, then forget it. Well, we've seen a shift. We've seen the importance of running backs and the versatility. We finally caught up to the utility tool nature of a running back in the modern NFL, and wide receivers are like, well, why am I going to give the cheetah a bunch of money when I could just get a next man up situation? Because there's so many wide receivers out there. So maybe the Panthers,
they got rid of DJ Moore and have yet to replace him. Like they've had 2 seasons without DJ Moore, and they have not found anybody. And I don't think DJ Moore is like a dude.
That's
like
the
I think
thing.
he's
It's like, do you
good.
think DJ Moore is a dude?
No, I don't. But they haven't even gotten someone of his quality.
Okay,
like that's
all
been an annual 1,000-yard receiver in this league, and like you got to be pretty damn good to be able to do that, no matter where you're at and what scheme you're
Chicago,
in.
and then things don't work out.
So that's my thing. It's like, okay, like they made that bet. And when teams are calling for Brian Burns, said it'd be tough to find an edge rusher. We saw last year, pretty doggone tough to find an edge rusher. Probably not going to have one again this year. And we saw they didn't want to give up Derek Brown. Tough to find a defensive tackle. We saw what it looks like when you don't have a true nose tackle, a true defensive tackle in the middle there for your defense. And then they also said, well, fine, we'll get rid of the receiver because that'll be easier to find. Have not found that guy. At least that guy has not materialized into being that replacement just yet. So they gambled on it. They finally got rid of the edge rusher. That's a horrible position right now. One of the worst groups in the league. They got rid of the receiver. It's a promising young unit, but still one of the worst groups in the league. And then like defensive tackle, like defensive line in total, I think they're probably fine now that Derek Brown's back. But you see, like it's those are kind of the spots you cannot give those up, those premium positions. And that's my kind of thing. Like go get premium positions in this draft and coach those guys up, build quality depth. You can do that. Because I still think that it's the NFC South. That's no reason we're even having conversations about can they win the division. Like I still feel like they're probably more of a year away than it being this fall.
I would agree with that.
They're a year away from being a year away.
We're almost there. Almost there. Light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe Matt Rule was correct.
7 years.
It's going to take 7 years. Maybe he was right all along.
Oh, my God.
On that note, Julian Council, LockedOn Panthers. Hey, man, we appreciate the time as always. You're at the finish line, Julian. You're at the finish line.
Not really. He's got a whole
Because then we get into OTAs, mini camps.
Did you see Tommy Tremble? The post up. And with that one-handed catch.
I just got to get to June, man. Get to June. We go down to 3 episodes a week, and I already have my schedule for June and how I'm going to be able to record all those on Monday and not think about it for a full week. So just give me to June.
I'm dreaming of video clips with the caption "Absolute Piss Missile."
Oh,
that's what I'm dreaming.
The
about.
highest rated quarterback on fourth quarter when his team was trailing.
Yeah, I want to see Bryce Young laser eyes. He's built different huffy face emoji off of one.
All the highlight of the
No, the best one is it's going to be in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, when they have rookie mini camp highlights.
Cannot wait. Cannot wait for this.
Who's this year's Jalen Coker? Dun 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 dun.
Let me go ahead and write that one down.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. There's a May episode.
And,
I'm typing it right now.
And as you be the Tar Heel and I'm the Wolf, the next time I bring up, what are you going to do with a bunch of Holy Cross transfers? Well, there you go. Jalen Coker, try to Holy Cross. Belichick,
Chris O'Kelly, starting center for North Carolina this year. They're going to be awful. Yay, though. Good. Thank God John Prayer ran the search and got this guy who's bringing in less talent than Mac had.
Oh,
bravo. Great job. And this is a long-term thing, right? You know, Belichick's going to be here for 5 years. So they're going to build a program.
In Ireland.
He's going to be in Ireland next year.
Yeah.
Jordan's already planning out her fits. We're ready to go, baby.
Unbelievable.
All right, man. Julian Council, LockedOn. We appreciate the time. We'll talk to you later.
Yep.
Always enjoy talking with Julian. Also enjoy going to Longleaf when they do their specials. They did the 420 Bong Leaf Swine event on Sunday. They had the Alabama Slamma, which was like the esquites on top of Cool Ranch Doritos and some chicken, roasted chicken, and an Alabama white sauce. Dude, I should have got a Nature's Relief before to really unlock the experience. They also had the quesadilla burger, which they sold out of that. The kids were miffed about that. And then a barbecue mac and cheese that Kelly absolutely loved. This is Longleaf, man. They're doing barbecue, but they're elevating it. And I highly recommend you head out there for brunch on Sunday. Speaking of, they got a great space. Maybe you're thinking about opening up your own space. Cool. We have people for that. Our friends Keller Williams, the Donnelly team, Keller Williams Commercial, the Donnelly team, Brian and Julie. They can help you find that retail space, storage space. Maybe you've already got a space.
Office
you need
space.
more space.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to help you out with that. So hit them up, trianglenccommercial.com, or call them directly at 919-616-8681. Look, you have your different ways of financing things. So we're talking about commercial real estate. Obviously, you have your own real estate, and maybe you want to maximize the value in your home. You're looking to consolidate debt. You're looking for a home remodel. You're kind of worried about rates, so you're a little skittish to do whatever it is. Don't be. Contact our friends at Miller Lending. MillerLending.com/the OGs, our landing page. Take that thing to closing. They got a Raleigh Wine Shop gift basket for you. 919-447-3377. The thing about Miller Lending with no closing costs is that you're not freaking out about maximizing the amount of money you just put up front to get a slightly lower rate, which will likely, on average, break even in about 8 years. It's a waste of time. Don't do that. Don't pay closing costs. Stay flexible. And when your situation changes, you're not fretting about all the sunk cost you've done into this rate. The rate is the rate. It fluctuates. It's all good. So move with it and contact our friends at Miller Lending. You're going to spend some quality time with Gordon tomorrow.
I was going to say, he's mad at you.
Why is he mad at me?
Because during the podcast, you said, oh boy, you're going to be in the car with Gordon.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
Going to get the full Gordon experience.
You are. I'm kind of jealous.
So yesterday when I called him, he goes, I've debated giving you the silent treatment tomorrow. And I was like, wait, why? And he goes, just to prove Ovies wrong.
He can't help himself.
I was like,
nah, he can't help himself.
Gordon, you're allowed to talk.
You're allowed to talk.
Pay no attention to him.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Pay no attention to me. Gordon knows I love him. He talks a lot. It's fine. And I do too. Big thanks to our friends at State Farm, Matt Davis, and SureGarner.com, 919-779-8277. He's going to save you money on your home and your auto. So you finance your house. You're saving money, consolidating debt. Well, let's take it a step further. Start that conversation with Matt Davis at State Farm in Garner and see where you can save money on your home and auto. 919-779-8277 in SureGarner.com. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline is Jeff Tiberi, WUNC FM here locally in the Triangle. And he's got a book called The Magnificent Seven, College Basketball's Blue Bloods. Jeff, I'm not going to lie. When you reached out to us, it's a crazy busy time with the NCAA and a Will Wade coaching search and then spring break and indoor percussion chaperoning and things like that. But I wanted to have this conversation because when I saw the subject of the book, I thought Giglio is going to eat this up because he's always debating what is and what is not a blue blood. And you wrote a book about it.
I did, and I guess maybe I'm ready to take it on the chin. But I'm looking forward to the debate, and I appreciate you guys making some time for me.
So first off, what is the criteria for a blue blood? Because you've got Duke, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, UCLA, North Carolina, and UConn. That is your magnificent seven. This is a malleable framework. All seven of these schools have won 4 national titles, and they have all won national titles in 3 different decades. Mm-hmm. This was not necessarily a point of criteria, but I will also just drop the little nugget on you that since the tournament expanded, the NCAA tournament, to 64 teams back in the mid-'80s, we have had but 3 Final Fours without at least one of these quote-unquote blue bloods. And, I mean, that's to kind of put your arms around all 7 of them. Now, I would be the first one to say, all right, Kentucky, Carolina, Duke, I mean, those to me are the longest, most consistent mainstays. UConn's the new kid on the block, right? They've won as many titles in the last 26 years as Carolina has won all time as we think about NCAA tournaments. Mm-hmm. And Indiana and UCLA, candidly, and I wrote with somebody else, we co-authored this book. Indiana and UCLA were the ones where we, you work through it a little bit. And I think there's logical pushback to both. I would push back most. I realize I wrote the book, so I probably should shut up and let you push back. But I'll say this about Indiana. Indiana is almost a Bob Knight blue blood, right? Like they haven't recovered since the departure of Bobby. Mm-hmm. Anyway, you guys go. I don't want to ramble too much. Oh, that's the beauty of the format, Jeff.
Yeah, come on, yeah. Don't sell Branch McCracken short there.
Fair.
Jeff.
How could I?
So you're saying 3 different decades. You used a lot of data since the expanded, since 64 and since the 1985 tournament. Yeah. Okay. I'm okay with all those things so far, but I still don't know how you land on Indiana. UCLA at least made the Final Four in 21, won a title in 95. Indiana, completely and totally fraudulent. Haven't won a national title since 87. Haven't been to the Final Four since 02. I think they've had more coaches than tournament wins in the last 20 years, to be perfectly honest with you.
I cannot confirm or deny off the top of my head. I would say that that's all fair, right? Like this, as I think about the text we put together, it is a history book in part, right? Like we've got plenty of Bobby Knight in here. There are some Branch McCracken stories in here. Indiana's the weakest of the 7. I mean, I'd give you that right on its face. And I think that in the day of NIL, Indiana is perhaps the most likely to be supplanted, right? Like say Florida runs it back here in a couple of years and you say to me, hey, you can only keep it to 7. Who are you swapping out? Well, I'm swapping out the Hoosiers for the Gators, or maybe another title by the Wildcats of Villanova.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would put if Florida's going to be in this conversation, I would almost put Florida in a different category of university of ...
Yeah.
Which ones seem to understand both assignments, that you can be good at football and you can be good at basketball. And it's not like Florida fans don't ride for the Florida basketball team, even though we understand in the SEC it's all about football. I guess the question that I would have, we can get mathematical with it. I mean, if you want to get actual tangible numbers, that's cool. But I think the reason why Indiana continues in this conversation is because sometimes when we talk about blue bloods, we talk about vibes. We talk about name recognition. When I say Indiana, even though I'm 46, Joe's about to be 50, we're aging out of what shapes the conversation.
Right.
But I still think for people even in their 30s, if you say Indiana, they're going to associate that with basketball, good or bad. They're going to associate it. And I almost feel that's kind of the criteria at play here as well, that you can't quantify, but because of the history of basketball, there's an association that you cannot dislodge Indiana from.
I would agree. I'll build on it briefly to say, if you're writing the volumes of basketball since Dr. James Naismith gave it to us 34 years ago, you can't do it without Springfield. You're going to have a hard time doing it without Lawrence and or Kansas.
Yep.
And you're going to have a hard time writing a complete or encapsulating a good picture of the history of basketball without the state of Indiana. Now, we're probably drifting a little bit far afield from this book, but I mean, where did John Wooden come from? Where did Everett Case come from? What has maybe the richest high school, I don't know the best word for it, some of the richest high school rivalries and camaraderie, like Indiana's up there. So it's still in that basketball DNA until we go all AI and replace the basketball DNA.
You mentioned UConn as the newcomer. What was how'd you arrive at getting them in there? Because I know a lot of people who will go on that old hard line don't like it when you add the new blood.
I mean, it's how can you not? I guess is just my knee jerk to that. Like they did 6 in a generation. They did it with 3 different coaches. They did it very differently, right? If you look at some of these different titles, like 99, they shocked Duke. Y'all were here, and I was in high school at the time, so maybe you could push back on that. But as a kid growing up in Massachusetts, they shocked Duke. 04, they went wire to wire. They were the best team in college basketball that year. They had the Kemba year where they weren't on anybody's radar, probably in maybe Bubblicious, and then Kemba and those cardiac Huskies won whatever it was, 10 straight, I think, between the Big East and the NCAA tournament. And now they have, arguably, I'll attribute it to the coach of the school I went to, Jim Boeheim, who says they have the best coach in college basketball. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that, but Hurley is right up there in the small conversation of the very best coaches. So I don't how do you leave UConn out of it? They haven't been doing it for 70 years, but and let me just say, I hate UConn. I went to Syracuse. I hate UConn, but to me, they are deserving to be in this conversation.
It feels like multiple coaches is a key here, right? Like I think we're looking at Duke now, wondering, okay, they went to the Final Four before Mike Krzyzewski, but he's the only one in their school history with a national title. So, how do you be the guy who follows the guy? And obviously they've done a different template, if you will, in what they've done with John Shire and their succession and legacy plan that they did there.
For sure.
It does get you down an interesting road, like Syracuse, Indiana, Duke all feel like they have that similarity where they had that one gigantic personality and coach and winner and, some success before them, but what happens after?
100%. And I would say that we probably can parse them out a little bit. I'll put Indiana over here and say they did win a title with McCracken. Okay, they have a title with somebody else. Syracuse, my school, and I love them. Syracuse is in big trouble right now. I mean, we can get into all that or not, but they need more NIL money. They need a basketball coach. I believe they have one right now, but I'm not convinced he's the guy for long term. And before Boeheim, it was marginally successful up in Central New York. I think what for me sets Duke aside as we think about the one coach thing. If you go back to Bubis and you go back to the 1960s, they went to 3 Final Fours in 4 years. They very narrowly missed out on a national title in 63. They lost to UCLA. That was at the beginning of the UCLA run, 63 or 64. It's escaping me at the moment. They had some very good teams early on. And I think it's also worth remembering that prior to expansion of the tournament in that iteration, Duke probably would have had more chances to go for Final Fours and national titles, but you only had one team from the ACC during that era.
To transition from what is a blue blood and what isn't, there is a second tier. You mentioned Syracuse, right? I could probably make the argument that NC State qualifies for that other tier in that they're recognizable. And you cannot tell the story of college basketball without these schools. But they've fallen on some hard times. They've gone, what direction they're going in. Obviously, State fans are hype about Will Wade to kind of bring back those echoes of Jimmy V.
Sure.
And with Syracuse, it's a proud program with a very motivated fan base that had consistency under Boeheim there until the end. So what do you do with a school like that? I mean, we're never going to consider them blue bloods ever again. I would say Maryland's probably in this mix too, in that they're good jobs. They've got motivated fan bases, but it just doesn't elevate above that. What do you do with teams like that?
So if I'm going to give you 3 tiers here, we've talked briefly about the 7 at the top, or we've talked extensively about the 7 at the top.
Yeah.
To me, the kind of the second tier in no particular order, Louisville, Villanova, Michigan State, NC State, little, if any, pushback there as we're thinking about the whole body of work across and did I say Michigan State? Maybe Ohio State. Ohio State is one of these schools that they've been to several Final Fours. They won, I believe, 2 national titles in the early 60s.
But nobody thinks about Ohio State as a basketball school at all.
Fair.
It's a good job.
Fair. And then to me, you mentioned Maryland. I would throw like Syracuse, Maryland, and Arizona. Like those are 3 that come to mind. And then maybe like an Arkansas or a Georgetown. Maybe that's maybe another tier.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough and it's fluid, right? And I mean, you mentioned Syracuse, and I'll run with it for a second. What if Syracuse doesn't lose in '87 in New Orleans by virtue of Billy Owens missing free throws and Keith Smart hitting a jump shot, right? So that would move Syracuse to a second national title and bring Indiana down one. And then what if in '96 Syracuse doesn't run into the Untouchables, arguably the most talented college basketball team talent-wise the last 40 years, Pitino's '96 Kentucky squad. What if Boeheim has 3? But of course he doesn't, right? Like to me, that's the fun of this thing.
So you guys explore the commonalities. We know coaches are part of that. Is there anything beyond that, or what stood out beyond that to you? Maybe a thread for these schools.
We've touched on it maybe loosely here. You look at these 7 schools, and they're not football schools, right? I think that's one of the maybe not. You guys are obviously you live this, breathe this. You're experts, but I think for a lot of fans, they might not consciously make this connection of like, historically speaking, in order to have been, this has obviously changed recently with NIL and the SEC dominance, but basketball powerhouses have not been football powerhouses. And we could probably have a long, healthy conversation about why that is and some of the factors. But from my seat, you think about smaller places, relatively smaller places, smaller media market. There's only so much air. There are only so many donors. And it hasn't existed in a way yet where you can have sustained dominance on both sides, which is why I do think Florida is a really interesting conversation in school. They're almost an outlier of sorts. So, excuse me, coaches, you've got the non-football environment, the legends, right? There are legends throughout this. I mean, playing legends. You've got the big, huge coaching figures. but I wrote the Carolina chapter, and I had to pare it down, and I think I literally say in here at some point, like, excuse the brevity with which I've got to try to get through all of these Carolina legends, because whether you love them or hate them, like, there are a lot of damn Tar Heel legends, right?
There are. There's countless books that you could find about the Tar Heels at this point from a variety of writers. So I get what you're saying there. All right. So speaking of your book, because it just explores the general sense of what these Blue Bloods are, you can buy it on Amazon right now, but obviously we want to support local.
Yep.
So where can folks, brick and mortar, go get the book right now?
Flyleaf in Chapel Hill is a great option if you would like to support a local business. That's an excellent one, and we'll get you signed copies if you have any interest in that. And if you don't want a signed copy from Flyleaf, you just want it from Flyleaf, no hard feelings whatsoever. And my hope here is that in the next few months we'll also we'll have it available in some local libraries as well.
Jeff, we appreciate it. Go check out the book. Again, the name of the book is The Magnificent Seven, College Basketball's Blue Bloods. You're a blue blood because you're actually in a real radio studio. I forgot what those look like.
Recognize those walls.
I know that soundproofing wall right there, and that door is more than what we make in a year, Joe.
Yeah, me too.
Super expensive. Tell Russell the love muscle I said hello.
Thank you, guys.
UNC.
Appreciate
Jeff,
it.
we appreciate it, man. Take it easy.
Take care. Thanks, guys.
Big thanks to our friends at the Butcher's Market. You can check them out online, thebutchersmarkets.com. We've been talking about tailgating options, but the weather's warmer. You're going to be spending some more time out in your patio. You're going to fire up that grill. Well, get the best stuff that's out there. Go to our friends at the Butcher's Market.
So many different chicken options, especially during the summer. Also on Tuesdays, don't forget, you can save big at the Butcher's Market. So go check them out. Go to Lake Boone. Go before the game.
It's super easy.
Steak and cheese. Delicious, great other sandwiches. A turkey sandwich over there that's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of the shiny object. Let me go get it. You're a little bit more of the let me explore all of the options in the building.
Yes.
So you're better at that than I am. But I will tell you, man, you can't go wrong with all of the maple bourbon chicken is currently my personal favorite.
Now we're sitting here talking about sitting outside, enjoying your patio, grilling. You don't want mosquitoes to ruin it. So contact our friends at bugsbite.com. Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority is going to take care of that for you. We're running out of time in April.
You got 1 week left.
Let's do this.
Get yourself your first mosquito treatment for $29. Even if you've already used them before, tell them about this ad. Tell them that you heard it on the OG. They'll honor that rate, $29 for your first mosquito treatment. Hit them up at bugsbite.com.
It's funny. We're sitting here talking about patios and like outdoor kitchen setups, and you're going, Ovies, I don't have one of those, but I'd like one. That's cool. This is why you have to contact Hometown Realty. myhtr.com. You have specific needs. Ovies has convinced me I need an outdoor kitchen. I need a place with an outdoor kitchen. Boy, Hometown Realty is going to make sure you find what you are looking for. That is personal touch. That is here local. And more importantly, if you're selling your home, and you have something like an outdoor kitchen you've invested in, you want to maximize the value of your home, all the investment you've put into it, well, don't take a guaranteed cash offer. That's silly. Contact our friends at Hometown Realty, myhtr.com. You can buy and sell with confidence. All right, let's get out of here with some Hey Joe. Of course, we go to the sports phone.
919-444-2211. Call the OG sports phone and curse or don't.
I'm pretty sure this is a phone call from our guy Joseph in Wake Forest. This is a 919.
Well, these are always a treat now.
Joseph's calls, speaking of Nature's Relief, nature'sreliefhempstore.com. I'm pretty sure Joseph has something from Nature's Relief before he decides to call the sports phone.
As one should do.
And I'm saying this with all sincerity. When I see he is called in, I'm like, oh man, this is going to be an adventure. So let's see what Joseph has today.
Hi, this is Joseph in Wake Forest. And I was just calling. I watched your Tuesday, April the 20 whatever show. And I was just calling. I didn't see you guys. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing because a lot's going on, but I didn't see you guys talk about the 2026 game between TCU and UNC has been moved to Ireland. And I found that out kind of yesterday. But I just was wondering what you think about that. And also, I went and played some golf for the first time this year, and I know Julio's been out there whacking it. And I was just wondering, with his neck trouble, I have a little back trouble, and I was just wondering what he does off the tee, like if he's really poking out there, walking them, or if he's hitting the fairway woods quite often. I played a shorter course today, so I was hitting like 4 hybrids, and it all worked out. But anyway, you guys take care and have a good day.
Whacking it, huh, Joe?
Yeah, put that on a shirt.
Out there, Joe's out there whacking it. I mean, factual.
Yeah, I've lost some distance off the tee.
Yeah.
Second surgery was a bit starchy. Made a swing adjustment though recently after playing one of the worst rounds of my adult life. Went out and got a big Bertha. Did a couple things. So I'm back up to like 230, 235 max out.
Mm-hmm.
No. I mean, that's way, way, way shorter than what it used to be. But, you know, sometimes you have to learn how to play old man golf.
Hey,
it's a thing.
I've been playing old man golf ever since I've played golf. That's my move. That's my steez. As it relates to the TCU thing, and you didn't hear it on the show and all that kind of stuff. You're right. Typically, and I know I have to remind people of this from time to time, they might not have caught it or they're new to the show. Totally cool. A little bit of context, a little bit of housekeeping, if you will. We record the show in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Except for Thursday. Except
for Thursdays when we're live at 2:00. So we record the show in the morning. Like as of right now, as I'm talking to you, it's 10:30 in the morning on Wednesday. And then, you know, I'll get done, I'll edit it down, and I'll push the podcast out. And then on YouTube, it shows up at 2:00. So what you see at 2:00 has been out there in audio form probably since about noon, 11:30 noon. There's reasons for that I can get into in a mailbag episode or whatever. So that's why you didn't catch it in yesterday's show and why we referenced it today, because the news had come out after we had already been done with the podcast. There are some pros and cons to it. I get it. I've had to get over it in 2 years, like the immediacy of it. Like, no. That's not what it is. There's time for it. It's okay. You don't have to react to it right now. Maybe you can come up with a different angle because you're talking about it later, which I like. Gets the brain going, dust off the cobwebs. But that's why sometimes something happens, and when you watch on YouTube at 2:00, it's like, well, wait a minute, why didn't you bring it up? Well, because we had already recorded. That's why. All right, let's go to another 919.
Joe and Joe. Got a draft question for you. What's the deal with Shedeur Sanders? Is it he's not that good? Is it attitude? Is it family? You know, it seems like he would be set in a spot, but all I keep hearing is he's dropping, rising, dropping, rising. So give me a breakdown on that if you don't mind. Love you guys. Continue to do all that you do. We greatly appreciate you.
Appreciate the call. We sort of touched on it with Council on this podcast as a side tangent when it comes to Shedeur Sanders as it relates to the Panthers and where they are with Bryce Young. Totally get that. As far as why Shedeur Sanders is being discussed the way that he's discussed, I think it's a confluence of a whole bunch of things, not just one thing. At the very top of that is the usual conversations we have around black quarterbacks. Hard stop. Black quarterbacks are discussed in a different way than white quarterbacks. If you
so much so that if he was white and a coach's son, we would be like, you would point to his 74% completion percentage.
But that gets to the next layer. Okay. So you have the differences
That's
in how
amazing if you think about it.
That's the differences in how we talk about QBs. Okay. Black, white, hard stop. To your point about the coach. Well, that gets to the other layer. His dad is Deion Sanders. And Deion Sanders is going to be a lightning rod conversation point, like at Colorado, and obviously now with Shedeur Sanders. So that also leads to how we talk about him a little bit differently. There's also another point between black and white. Well, what exactly did he do? Well, I mean, Josh Allen, what exactly was he doing at Wyoming? He was a high variance player when he was at Wyoming, and people were just like salivating over all of his intangibles and things like that. And you ride that roller coaster, and people are desirous of him to win a Super Bowl in Buffalo in combination with Buffalo, right? So you don't necessarily see those types of things. Are there legitimate concerns about Shedeur Sanders? Yeah, stature is one of them. Same concerns we'd have about Bryce Young, we would have about Shedeur Sanders. Those are all valid ones. And then the other reason why you have this stuff, this is a general NFL draft conversation. It's all smoke. It's all smoke. The stuff gets put out there all the time for a guy to rise and drop. And my feelings on this too is that you can't really wring out of the towel 3 months worth of draft conversation. At some point, you're going galaxy brain on some of these things, as evidence, as we said earlier, about, well, do I want to draft Shedeur because the whole time I'm going to be dealing with somebody like, oh, well, what's going to happen with Dion and those types of things, right? So those are all things that are in play.
I think there are two actual physical questions. The one you bring up when you say Josh Allen, well, Josh Allen's 6'5". Is a monster.
Right, that's where I got to the stature
I mean?
aspect of it. Yeah.
So Shedeur's 6'1", came in at the combine at 6'1". So that's a little bit slight, to your point, a little bit more of like a Bryce Young. Second of all, he doesn't have the greatest arm in the history of the world.
No.
All right. So, but he offsets that with his brain.
Yes.
And that's what has to be frustrating on their front for this. Here's a guy, if he was white and was a coach's son, we would be talking about ad nauseum. Oh, look how smart he is. Look at his high football IQ.
Lineage, all that stuff.
You do not complete 74% of your passes based on, just thinking and dunking and pop passes and whatever. Also, try to remember, Colorado had no running game. In the first year, he had no offensive line. He was running for his life. Even this year, he was sacked 42 times.
Yeah.
My personal opinion of Shedeur Sanders, I get it. He might not be Patrick Mahomes. He might not be Steph Curry. But I think you have to look at his lineage and you have to look at what has made those two people so successful. Those genes are going to help him in a way that it does not help other prospects.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So I think it's a mistake to just look at him and be like, well, he's just like, every other 6'1" quarterback with not a great arm. I think he has a next level football IQ that could really help him and that will translate in the NFL. There's also a question
What's his video game score, though?
Yeah. There's also the question of the way that he's played is not, and ESPN just did a great breakdown. I would recommend that you look at the most recent ESPN article. They have clips, they have some other stuff. Here's his good throws, here's his bad throws, here's some of his weaknesses, here's some of his strengths. One of the issues, we got to think about it in the Shanahan mold, the play action, how we wanted to see Bryce Young used with the Carolina Panthers, and quite frankly, wasn't that first year.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a lot of this will be about fit as well. Shedeur's never played with a good line or a running game. So that's going to be an adjustment in a good way for him. But the way he mostly plays out of the gun is how Bryce Young was used that first year in Carolina. It's a little bit of a struggle. And that's going to be the question of how does he fit? How does he work? I mean, you put him down in Miami. I've seen some people suggest that Miami does take him.
I can see
as
that.
Almost like a little bit of a luxury type pick because of, the problems with Tua, the long-term issues with Tua.
The concussions. It's a factor.
Like Mike McDaniel with him. I mean, he could be really good.
It's the same reason why Bryce Young was a target of conversation with the Tagovailoa injury.
Yes.
Okay, Mike McDaniel might be able to work the magic there. So I could see
Exactly.
the same thing with Shedeur Sanders, depending if he's got a fit. The other thing I would say too, to get back to the whole like how we talk about these guys differently. The one thing I cannot stress enough is go look how we talk about Joey Burr, the outfits, the ice, the hair, like all that's like, oh man, he's got the fit, the swag, all this other kind of stuff, right? Shedeur Sanders has that same quote unquote swag with the watch and all sort of stuff. And people are like, hey, humble yourself, young man. See the difference? So there's a lot of that going on here. But I think the biggest thing is his last name is Sanders. If you take anything from this conversation, the last name is Sanders. Yeah, man. It's going to be a lightning rod conversation. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. Big thanks to Julian Council. Big thanks to Jeff. Go check out his book on Amazon about the Blue Bloods. Right in our wheelhouse, man. Blue Blood conversations. Can't get enough of that stuff. We will see you all for an OG Live tomorrow, 2:00 on YouTube.